feels like for this
Right.
tournament, you would almost want to lean a little bit more cash game wise. Now, I might be wrong on that.
That's how I think.
That's how the feeling hits me.
Mayo experience.
Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog, doing another version of an Underdog NFL Best Ball draft for today. Nez from the Badge Bros is on the line to explain this to me because I don't know. We're doing the Eliminator, Nez. Why is the Eliminator different than the other Best Ball Manias and everything like that?
Yeah, so thank you for having me on again, by the way. Pleasure to be here. So Best Ball Mania and other regular Best Ball contests are somewhat straightforward, still a lot of nuance, where it's weeks 1 through 15. You're battling out with the people that you drafted with in the month of May. And then after week 15, you are now in a singular 16-person pod or however many people based on the tournament that you're in. And you're battling all the way to week 17, where the finals are for those tournaments where you get major prizes at the end in week 17. The Eliminator is really interesting because week 1, with the people that you drafted with, that we're going to draft with today, the top half, 6 out of 12, advance to week 2. From week 2 all the way through week 16, it's 1v1 against a random person in the tournament. And it's like that all the way until week 17, where it's a 3-person final. And this is the first time Underdog's ever done anything like this. And it's adding like a lot of new strategy to drafting that we never really had the chance to before. So this is just like a really unique opportunity to draft like a new style of contest that has a lot of fun and a lot of what we like to call in the Best Ball Street sweat equity, where you just know it's you versus somebody else week after week. And it makes for a really fun sweat all the way through the season if you can make it that long.
So I want to talk through a few potential strategies that I'm going to come up with on the fly, and you can tell me if they're stupid or not. Just hearing the rules for the first time and being like, okay, what are my instant thoughts on this? One thing you can do to guarantee that you do well in one of these tournaments is just use code Mayo at sign up right now. Get yourself a deposit bonus of up to $1,000, and you'll get a free pick in the pick'em game as well. That part is guaranteed if you have enough of a deposit. Winning one of these Eliminator NFL Best Ball tournaments is going to be a little bit tougher. So my first thought on this actually reminds me a little bit about how golf is structured in the Best Ball format, that a lot of the season is so unknowable, and more so, like there are injuries in football. However, in golf, you don't know what players are going to play what tournaments, and maximizing the amount of starts that you get on your team of 10. You can only play 6 guys per week, but making sure that you have 6 in all of those tournaments is the real strategy. And the only thing that you can really do, because the season is cut into 4 segments before there's a cut, is try to figure out how the first segment is going to work. Advance yourself out of it. There are little tricks that you can do down the line, but frankly, trying to maximize the tournaments that no one else is going to go after and build your team for segment 1 that way doesn't ensure that you come out of segment 1, but it gives you a higher degree of likelihood. I can't speak this morning. It just ensures your chances a lot better of coming out versus people that aren't going to attack those loser tournaments. And when you do that, but it does not necessarily leave you at a disadvantage in rounds 2, 3, and 4. But you might not have the optimal team for those. But it's always been, it's like the season-long fantasy, Nez, where it's always been my belief that just get yourself to the fantasy playoffs and random things happen and you can win. If you don't get there, you have no chance of winning. So for me in this one, I know that the week 17 correlations in standard best ball are so big, and maximize yourself for the playoff run. For me in this one, because so much of the NFL season is unknown with injuries and whatever it might be, people losing their jobs, that ensuring you get through week 1 seems like the hardest part.
Yeah, it's a very nice way to optimize too. If you think you have a good idea of what these matchups are going to look like and who is going to perform the best in week 1, you can absolutely optimize for that. Spoiler alert, I have not memorized the week 1 schedule yet, but I think that would be a pretty good strategy to ensure that you just get there. And then from there, you just kind of let the chips fall where they may. You talked about, guys not playing in certain tournaments and whatnot, and that can sort of definitely be a parallel to injuries in football. But we do also know guys who are not playing in certain tournaments, i.e. bye weeks. So we do definitely want to make sure that we're not heavily overlapping certain bye weeks, because then that really, hinders our chances of advancing in said bye week. So we do want to be pretty mindful of that as well.
I've done one of these so far, and it was a standard Best Ball Mania, and I did it with Davis, and then he somehow talked me into taking a bunch of guys with Week 14 buys, and then by the end of it, we're like, oh, shit. This team isn't going to be very good. So I want to avoid that this time. So what do you think is the proper, like that was the first thing that I thought about once you told me the rules is you have no chance of winning if you can't be one of the top 6 teams in week 1. I'm not saying optimize all of your spots for week 1, but if you want to take someone, I mean, at this point of the year, at the beginning of June, we don't necessarily know who's going to be a week 1 starter in a lot of things that, some people might take Jackson Dart for later on in the year. It's doubtful that he's going to go in this draft, knowing that he's not going to start for probably at least the first 10 weeks if he starts at all. But I could see how that could make sense if you're playing 150 teams and you want to do a cheap giant stack. That works out well for you potentially towards the end. But for something like this, I would really want to minimize the amount of unknowns later on in the season, like that year that Alvin Kamara was going to miss time, or someone like Rashee Rice last year was supposed to miss time and then didn't, and then did after he got hurt again. But if we knew that guys were going to be out 8 weeks, maybe you can take one of them, but this doesn't feel like the format to be like, all right, I can skate by for the first 8 weeks, and then the rest of my team is going to come, because you're probably just going to be out by then if you don't have all your guys.
No, very, very well said. And what we know and don't know obviously will change as we get closer to the start of the season as well. So, we can decide what kind of risk we want to take or not want to take right now on May 29th, as of recording this, like how we want to go about drafting this. And what I've seen a lot and what I think is correct, I think the field is doing a really good job of drafting these. Running backs go a lot earlier because we have starting running backs that we have, a certain amount of confidence that are going to be the starting running backs. And they go earlier than you would see a normal best ball. And quarterbacks go a lot earlier as well for some of the dynamics you mentioned with the Jackson Dart example. Nobody wants to be left with Jackson Dart. So they want to make sure that they have their quarterbacks locked and loaded. And compared to regular best ball, quarterbacks, at least in like the back end, probably get like a 2-round premium as far as their prices go. So that's something to be mindful of. Like, don't get locked out at running back, because you don't want to do a 0 running back strategy that most people are familiar with now, where you're hoping for injuries and you get a backup running back that gets a major role. You might not be able to live to see that day. So you do want to make sure that we have good running backs and we have starting quarterbacks for that certainty. And with the running back thing is because they score more points as well. We know that like having strong running back cores raises your median projected points throughout the season if you do use that strategy.
I'm looking at week 1 right now. So it seems like the 3 highest projected scoring games in terms of totals: Buffalo and Baltimore above all else, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Detroit, and Green Bay slightly after that. And then implied team totals based on spreads, Washington and Philly come in just behind them. So listen, there's going to be there's a reason that players from these teams are very popular, because they are projected to score a lot of points. But just for week 1 circumstances, I feel like I would like to come out with at least a quarterback from one of these teams.
Yeah, it is interesting because the quarterback, premium quarterbacks are, it can really kind of sacrifice the median scoring at, a running back or a wide receiver. So there is like this push and pull of like, yeah, I would love a high scoring quarterback, but now I'm like way behind the 8 ball at other positions. But the value you do get from them, like it does just give you a lot of certainty, especially if you get somebody that could run as well. You really do secure a really nice floor. That's why, you name those names. I like to take an arbitrage version of those guys with like Justin Fields. Justin Fields, we know, runs a lot. He has a pretty high floor and a pretty high ceiling as well if he ends up having one of those strong games. And he's like the cheapest version of that style of quarterback.
I would think, how does stacking work in something like this? I would guess that people are still doing it, but because you're not trying to you're not necessarily trying to maximize your points over a 14-week stretch. You're simply getting out of week 1 and then going head to head, right? That you don't need the optimal score every single week. You just need, basically, unless you run into a weird outlier, like a 75th percentile total.
Yeah, stacking is one that I am like still conflicted on right now, because there's stacking, I think, can lend itself, if you were to think of it from like a range of outcomes and like where the tail outcomes are. It kind of makes like a half pipe, where like if it goes really poorly, you're going to score like really far on the left side, but if it goes really well, you're going to score really far on the right side. But also, if you nail that throughout the course of the season, like you have a supercharged team. So I think if you are somebody that's going to be drafting a lot of eliminators, it makes sense to do like what we call onslaughts, where like, hey, if you're stacking Chiefs, stack Mahomes with like 4 pass catchers or something like that, where like this team is going off and they're going off for the entire season, and you just have a supercharged eliminator team that is built unlike any other teams. But if you're only doing a handful of teams, probably doesn't make sense to put all your eggs in that basket, because one bad week and you're absolutely toast. So I think that stacking is not bad here, but I do understand like the risk that comes with it. I still think at the end of the day, stacking is going to be good here.
I feel like I wouldn't want to do an onslaught simply because what you said, that for 17 weeks, what happens when you get to your bye week and your entire team is predicated around this one stack? Aren't you essentially out? Especially if you have injuries elsewhere.
Yeah, it's not looking good for you on that particular week.
And no team sustains itself for a high-powered offense for 17 weeks unless you're the 2007 Patriots. That's basically it. We just don't see it on a week-to-week basis, that eventually you're going to have a hiccup. You're going to get a cold weather game. You're going to have a weird injury, and then your team would be toast. I would think about building this, weirdly, to think about it even in terms of football, or even, I play a lot of golf in terms of DFS, but when I approach building like a GPP lineup on DraftKings versus approaching a cash game lineup on DraftKings, it feels like for this tournament, you would almost want to lean a little bit more cash game wise. Now, I might be wrong on that.
That's how I think.
That's how the feeling hits me, that I'm not against stacking, but I wouldn't want to take what would be the most obvious example here. Well, let's say I get Jaden Daniels at the beginning, and I'll put him with Terry McLaurin. I think that's a good enough stack to maximize my points from that team. I don't want to now be going down the list and committing myself to Debo and Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler, because so much can go wrong there that even if that team goes off, you might get left in the win. That I would rather take guys with potential from other teams just to balance itself out just a little bit at least.
Yeah, that I do agree with. I think where the stacking of of an onslaught could really be powerful is if you do it with like a really cheap team that like nobody sees coming, and now you just have this like insanely powerful team with you're capturing points on an offense that wasn't expected. Plus, you already have good players drafted before then. But I agree, it is a little risky in my opinion. I do like approaching this from a cash game perspective as well. I think that really does make the most sense here.
What are some of the cheaper teams that you're enjoying stacking up right now? Because I kind of agree with you. If I can use 3 of my last 5 picks to build out, the Giants are a weird example. Let's just pretend like Russell Wilson is the starter in week 1, and he plays well enough to go the entire year. I don't have neighbors, but I can put on Slayton. I can put on Theo Johnson towards the end, knowing that these guys aren't going to go, that I just can pick up a cheap stack that way. I don't think the Giants are necessarily the team I'd want to do it with. Do you have any favorites?
Yeah, one team that I like right now, and I liked them last year, and things didn't really go the way that I expected it to, is the Packers. I think the Packers are pretty. They have a lot of weapons that I really like, and they're all pretty reasonably priced right now. Jaden Reed, I still have faith in Jaden Reed. He didn't really have his best season. Now he's significantly discounted because of that. Plus, they drafted a rookie, but at the end of the day, these guys just are not drafted for their 75 percentile outcome, where a lot of these guys that do go in these best ball tournaments, you kind of are paying like that significant premium. I still have faith in the Packers being a really solid offense. And right now, like with Jordan Love and a few pass catchers and even his tight end and Tucker Kraft, these guys are just really easy to pair together. And I think like the ceiling outcome for these guys is like, oh, wow, they should have been priced 3 rounds ahead. There are certain stacks that just don't necessarily have that range of outcomes, in my opinion, based on where they're going.
Where right now, because I'm not necessarily familiar with where the ADP is, not only for the Giant Best Ball, but for how much does it shift between contests? Is the ADP markedly different for the Eliminator than anything else?
It definitely is. I don't necessarily have like one-to-one comparisons on like where the starkest differences are between the two, but they do differ quite a bit because they use different ADPs. They are calculated differently, and there's less drafts done in the Eliminator so far than have been done in regular best ball. There's been already thousands and thousands of drafts done in best ball. We have really strong liquidity there. We have a pretty good idea of what the markets are there. The Eliminator is significantly less efficient. It's still pretty efficient, but it's definitely less efficient, but lends itself towards more of those things that I was saying earlier, where quarterbacks are like way more expensive and running backs are way more expensive, but certain teams are not necessarily like priced differently. That level of consensus still exists in the Eliminator.
Trying to figure out what other cheap stacks I might go for. This might be a skinnier stack because you're losing both of the best players from this team, but I would imagine Geno Smith isn't going very highly.
Geno does not, but
Brock
Ashton
Bowers
Genty
does.
Yeah, Bowers goes really high. I think it's deserved. I love Brock Bowers.
I agree,
Bowers,
but let's say we pass on Brock Bowers, or even if we get Brock Bowers, we can get cornered into this. Let's say we don't get him, but we're still looking for a quarterback wide receiver combo. Like, why is Geno and Jacoby Smith in the back half of the draft just to put together so bad?
Yeah. Myers, of course. But yes, no, I totally agree. I love that pairing. I love Geno Smith, Jacoby. That offense, I have a lot of faith in. I know it's sort of, we haven't seen it yet, but I trust the Geno Smith skill set. They have this guy Jack Besh that like drafters love right now. They just drafted Jack Besh, and I'm leaving the light on for Trey Tucker as well, who can catch deep balls, which is like Geno's specialty, is just throwing balls 20 yards down the field. So I'm with you. I think the Vikings or the Raiders in Vegas are a lot of fun to go after.
And they're going to get a bunch of home games, which are going to be played indoors, which is very helpful.
Yes. Yeah. We love dome games. We love dome games around here.
And when their Kansas City game, I believe, is early in the year, or is it late in the year? Yeah, versus Kansas City. So that's week 18. That's at home. Oh. So their only cold weather game all year is really going to be at Philly in the middle of December. That's it. That's week 15.
That's a great call. I think maybe we should be looking at Raiders when we hop in here.
Yeah, I mean, would you want to put Genty with Geno, or did you just go pure passing game, or just let it? Like, I assume Genty's going in the first round, even in one of these drafts.
He goes in the back end of the first round. I have no problem pairing a quarterback and a running back. It does sort of lend itself to some negative correlation, but in my opinion, if a team is scoring points, a rising tide does tend to lift all boats in that regard. And Geno's cheap enough that you're not necessarily sacrificing a lot. Now, doing like a Saquon and Jalen Hurts in this contest, I'm out on that.
Although both of them would probably give you a bunch of points, which, as we said, we're not shooting for the optimal lineup in something like this. We're just shooting for a very good lineup and a good team.
That is true. That is true. It wouldn't be the worst, but it's not my ideal.
No, I don't think it's anyone's ideal, just knowing how one takes away from another. But if you had them both last year, I'm sure you were probably pretty pumped.
I think you did pretty well if you had both.
Let's jump over to Underdog right now. We're going to enter an Eliminator. It's going to be 30 seconds per pick. We're going to jump in there. Oh, $10. Not bad. Use code Mayo and get yourself a deposit bonus of up to $1,000. And you can enter this a whole bunch of times if you really want to. And I don't know if I necessarily want to turn on notifications. What happened to my draft? Where'd it go? Now I need to go back to
your active tab. It'll be there.
My active tab?
Yeah, on the left side there.
Oh, I thought it would just jump me to it. 1 of 12. Yeah. So we got some time to vamp here, it looks like.
Yeah. I think I might have rallied the troops a little early.
A bit too early on this one?
I think I rug pulled everybody.
So where do I where you said I can go to expand this screen out? Where do I go to do that?
Yeah, so if you go to draft on the bottom there, once this does begin, you will have the opportunity to look at the draft board, and then there's like a pop-out option, and it works really well for streaming. It takes up way more of the screen. You don't necessarily see the scrolling on the top, but it does give you a better view for it's what I like to use whenever I'm streaming.
All right, well, let's do that, and let's talk through some of the ADP that we see for this specific tournament to begin with. Jamar, Barkley, Bijan, Jefferson, Gibbs, CeeDee. McCaffrey's finally going up. I think McCaffrey should be the first pick.
I love that take. I think McCaffrey right now, if you're drafting in May, like he needs to be a target for you 100%, because he's going to rise as soon as we see that he's healthy in camp and we get some good coach speak. McCaffrey's going to end up a top 5 pick. I feel pretty confident in that. Once people just need to see it, people are still scared. Once they see it, it's going to happen in a strong way. He's such an obvious click right now.
I don't even know if he's going to be good or not, but if I'm thinking about where I can get the most value on a player at ADP 7.8, so pick number 7, pick number 8, whatever it might be, he has the potential to be the number 1 player. And we've seen him be the number 1 player when he is not injured. And he's been given a lot of time to recuperate from this Achilles thing. And it wasn't even a torn Achilles. It was like degenerative. Maybe that's bad news. Maybe that's a reason to stay away from him. If he was going as the first pick, I guess if I had pick number 1, I would probably take him. But at this point, I guess you could make the case for Jamar and Barkley over him. I don't know if there's that big of a case for Bijan Robinson over Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, the only thing that you can say is like Bijan's been healthy and he's on the right side of the, on the age curve than CMC. But we've seen so much elite production out of McCaffrey, and he still has a great coach. And I still have trust in the offense that, I wouldn't fault anybody for taking CMC over Bijan, but I am a big time Bijan bull, so I would probably hold the line on Bijan Robinson personally. I just think he's so talented. And I do have faith in Michael Penix as well. We have yet to see Bijan Robinson with a talented quarterback. So I think if we get a really solid season out of Michael Penix, that's just going to boost Bijan's range of outcomes because he's on the field longer. He's having more red zone opportunities. And I just think that he's just such an elite talent.
I agree on the talent. It's just everyone wants to believe Atlanta is going to be different every single year, yet they're exactly the same every single year, that they will use some random dude to score touchdowns and take Bijan off the field or throw to a backup tight end. Like these are the tricks that they pull on us. And you don't see the upside until it's there. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But McCaffrey is, especially in a format like this, the injury risk would be the toughest thing. But with his pass catching and now no Debo in San Francisco, we'll see who's injured and who's not. If he plays week 1, which we expect him to do right now, his floor is just so good.
Right. And we also have injury ambiguity with Brandon Ayuk right now, where we're not sure. Like, we think that he's going to be ready week 1. He might not be ready week 1. That just, to me equals leaning on McCaffrey more. But that's just part of the nuance of drafting right now is we don't have this information. So you can kind of take advantage of it and make some, prognostications on that.
How do handcuffs work with something like this? Is this a type of league where you would actually want to actively target McCaffrey's backup kind of thing?
So I like drafting his backup when I don't have McCaffrey. I'm kind of one where saying if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I think if you were drafting maybe like 10 eliminators and you're like, hey, I want to make sure that if my running back 1 goes down, I have his backup so I'm not completely dead. I think that's fine in this format. I'm personally not going about it that way. I'm trying to just draft as if I'm right.
Normally, I am with you, again, when you're doing something to maximize, because if McCaffrey goes down, I don't have McCaffrey. I have Garendo on my team. Now I might have 4 running back ones. But that's not necessarily needed for a draft like this.
You're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. Like, I think if that was your MO, I think that this is where it works best. It works better here than it does in a Best Ball Mania draft because, you are maintaining that median projected score week over week if something does happen. It's just, I don't like drafting that way. I just want to draft for
it is absolutely cowardly drafting. Completely agree with you. But I think for this specific format, it makes a lot more. I really like this. I like that the rules are different for this because there's been so much groupthink and maybe you can explain this to me because I was listening to Pete and Brick talk about it with these tools that we're going to get banned, but they're not banned.
Mm-hmm.
What is going on here?
So the tools that exist right now just help people do what they're already doing with less effort. And what people are doing is stacking their teammates. We've been doing that for years now. We have a quarterback, we want to stack them up, or we have a wide receiver, we want to draft his quarterback. Those tools tell you, hey, the quarterback is coming up. You should maybe consider drafting that quarterback. So they kind of help people make these decisions with less effort. What they are also doing is telling you who to target for week 17. We are already doing that, but it just gives you less effort in doing so. It's just a guide. It's just a guide that helps you complete these drafts and complete the optimal drafting for regular best ball and give you, guidelines to help you get there. Now, people are already doing this, and honestly, I think it's just going to help people draft more teams because like you can draft without thinking as much. I still am a primary phone drafter. I love drafting on the phone. I think the Underdog app, like they just absolutely nailed the experience on there. I prefer drafting on my phone more than anything else. So I just got to memorize these Week 17 matchups if I'm drafting a Best Ball Mania by heart, which I'm pretty close to having that down pat.
You can just pull it up in the notes tab too.
It's right there. I mean, it's not. It's really like I can understand. There was a lot of pushback and people were scared, but I promise you, there's no. It's nothing. It's not a boogeyman. We don't need to be scared of this. I promise you.
Yeah, it seems like far less of an advantage versus something like having optimizers and solvers for DraftKings and things like that for different sports.
There's so much inherent randomness with best ball that like unless you have a crystal ball, like you are not like the games are okay. Like until somebody has a time machine, we're going to be okay. There's so much inherent randomness with the game of best ball that like that's what makes it so much fun. Is like anybody can come in here, draft a good team, and win. Like the randomness is the best part.
How do I share this with people? Or do I just copy and paste the link?
Are you trying to share the link for people to join?
Yeah.
We just have to tell them to join like a 30-second eliminator. How many people do we have left?
We need 4.
All right. Okay. I have some people joining.
Okay, so we'll wait for them. I just want to get some of your more takes here on maybe the back end. Let's say you just try to plan this out a little bit. Do we have to think about pairing our guys up and stacking for the first 3 rounds, or do we just take who we think is the best player?
Definitely best player available.
Okay.
But I would lend ourselves to more our running back drafting.
When does that stop?
I would say after like round 8. After round 8, we do want to be cognizant of like the draft capital spent at certain positions. Like we don't want to be at round 8 and be like, all right, we've got 6 running backs. We're good. Like we definitely don't want to go overboard in that regard. But after like round 8, in my opinion, now we can start to think of like more nuance in regards to our team. And we obviously are always going to be thinking about like how is like the median scoring for our team. This is a very unique tournament in that regard. Like you said, that's what's so fun about it is every other tournament, we know what we're optimizing for. You can kind of draft it on autopilot. This is just like, we've never had a tournament played for big bucks where you're drafting safe. Like that just doesn't exist. It's so cool that this is here now. So it really we can sort of think way more less about stacking and way more like, hey, who do we think is going to be good for the whole season? Let's take that guy.
Are there any other tournaments that have different rules like this time around?
Yeah. They offer like a large variety. One of the more fun tournaments that they offer, which is kind of like, I would almost say the exact opposite of this, is called Weekly Winners, where you draft with 12 people and you draft a team, and that team and everybody else's team in the tournament. So we're talking like hundreds of thousands of other lineups in the tournament go against each other week after week after week. So when you draft Weekly Winners, you're trying to optimize for each individual week and try to have the high scoring team just for that week in a pool of 100,000 plus lineups, where first place wins $20,000 every single week. So it's like a brand new contest every week. And you're really optimizing for like optimal outcomes for one singular week. You take first place in Weekly Winners, and your best ball career is paid off for forever. Like that is just a very, very fun game to play there. The sprint is another one where instead of having different pods for weeks 15, 16, and 17, it is just a playoff contest from weeks 15, 16, and 17 with a pool of 3,000 people, whoever advanced out of their regular pods. That's a fun one. Very similar to Best Ball Mania. A lot of the same principles there. And then there is another one that is escaping me.
With the Weekly Winners, do you redraft the team every week, or you just draft one team at the beginning and hope it's good in those weeks?
Just one team right at the beginning. So you were kind of talking about like week 1 strategy. That is a very, popular strategy that's gaining steam right now for Weekly Winners, is like, hey, let me optimize for the first 4 weeks. I have an idea of who's healthy, who's playing. I know the matchups. I can, more confidently project those matchups than I can like down the road. So let me try to pick a shootout. Like, let's say you like a 1 game, like maybe the Chiefs and the Bengals are playing hypothetically in weeks 1 through 4. I want to target that game.
Weirdly, I think in that format, that is the exact opposite of what you would want to be doing, knowing that everyone will just go to that strategy. It would be much better waiting till the bye weeks come in, finding weeks 5 to 8 and hoping you're right, just because it's like building chalk lineups where, yeah, I can use this 45% guy, but you cannot pair him with the 28% guy and the 25% guy in a lineup because it's a 3v3 versus 50,000 people. Like, you're just not going to win that. But if you can go the alternative route, find different types of stacks for weeks that people are a bit more uncertain about, and make sure that you don't have buys during those weeks, and really gear it around a weeks 5 to 8 or 6 to 10 type strategy, I think all of a sudden you have an easier path to actually winning. Because like you said, there's one winner each week.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, there are prizes after first place, but there is, one first place winner every single week. And yeah, I think that's a pretty fun idea too. I like doing that with, like, if there's a bye week that is loaded with the good teams, try to avoid that bye week when I draft my weekly winners teams. And now I'm essentially drafting a $10 team to try to win, let's say, like week 10. I know that there's some good teams on a week 10 bye. I want to make sure none of my guys have a week 10 bye, and I'm optimizing for that singular week. And I'm trying to, win my season on that week. It's a very fun, unique format as well.
Yeah, and we can even go through it to try to find teams like within a 4-week period that might be a part of that optimal stretch that you're not going to get your teams weeks. I would throw out all the teams that people want to target weeks 1 through 4, and then go to the next tier of teams. And even if they had a bye week in there, try to put everyone on the same bye week. If it's week 9, like, well, I'm not going to win in week 9, but I have a chance at 6, 7, 8, and 10, something along that line. Just because beating 1,000 people much easier than beating 30,000 people.
Exactly. So that's another, like, really fun, like, brand new contest that is like just completely separate from the groupthink that we have in NFL Best Ball. And the other contest is the marathon, which is, again, you are up against the entire pool of lineups. So that's 75,000 lineups, and it's just weeks 1 through 17 who has the highest scoring team throughout that season. So it's just drafting a really good fantasy team. And if you end up having one of, like, the top 100, top 50 teams, toward the latter half of the season, you have a really fun sweat going. That kind of lends itself to maybe more onslaughting, because, hey, if you nail, like, one of the best offenses in football, that can really help supercharge your lineup as well. So a lot of nuance involved with the marathon.
We've been waiting on one more person to fill this for like 10 minutes now. This is actually, and maybe it's the time of year that it's happening, this is my least favorite thing about NFL Best Ball. Golf Best Ball was great for this. You need 6 people, and it's probably like a 10-minute draft. You're in, you're out. Play is very much like, how long is this draft going to take? Like an hour?
I would say like 45 minutes. Usually what's nice is, like, we're gonna have a lot of people that I know in this draft that are going to make their picks fast. If you miss 2 picks in a row, Underdog puts you on autopilot, which is nice. Part of the reason that the fill rate is slower for what we're doing is we're trying to do 30 seconds so we can kind of talk through our picks a little bit more. They have 20-second and 30-second options now. So people that are drafting in May just want to get in, get out. So they do 20-second drafts. And that's like that's what's really taking a lot of the liquidity for fast drafts right now. But, like, when I do a show, if I'm streaming, I like to do 30-second drafts so I can actually talk through some of the picks more. But the drawback when you're not necessarily live is got to wait a little bit. But I'm rallying the troops for us.
Excellent. Like I said, we just need the one person. Tell everyone where they can find you streaming these drafts, because obviously you're going to have a greater degree of insight on how to do these drafts and properly structure your teams than I would.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube at the Badge Bros, or at Badge Bros. I do a show there with my co-host John Warner, aka Roto Run. We stream every single day, focusing on best ball tournaments and particularly the Battle Royale tournaments, which are daily drafts. We cover literally every sport. So that's something that we do for strategy. For right now, we're in the thick of baseball season. We cover golf tournaments as well. We're not necessarily, it's our expertise, but I may just go out here and just draft Akshay Bhatia in 70% of my teams and hope for the best. But yeah, we're drafting literally Monday through Friday. And if you'd like to hear some more of my thoughts as well, on Twitter, aka X, at Nez Takes as well.
I think that the golf product would explode if they just let us draft for the entire tournament.
It's coming. That is on the roadmap. That is on the roadmap.
They've told me it's on the roadmap since I joined Underdog, but it's not here yet.
They just hired a project manager specifically to tackle this. We had a show with spokesperson Nick Rudman. You can find that on the Badge Bros YouTube channel, where he kind of talked about things to come. And that was one of the things that they talked about, was having tournaments for the majors. That was
I don't even want it just for the majors. I want it every week. Instead of doing I get that the daily churn in terms of rake is more profitable for them. I just think you'd get so many more people to play and on the site if they offered I can draft all the way up until Thursday. Once it's locked, that team is good for the entire week.
Yeah, you want to draft teams for the Memorial. Like
Yeah.
No, it is coming. It is absolutely coming. Shout out to the PM team over there. They are working diligently on these draft games. I'm pumped for what's to come there. But just being patient.
I've been trying to be patient with this, and like that I can have the PME opening. I was running it for the weekly for round 1, but then like I got disinterested in playing it. Like I don't really care about round 1 stuff. I care about capping a tournament, not one day.
Yeah, there's so much randomness in that round by round stuff that it does, lend itself to more. Yeah, I could see it being less fun for a tournament enjoyer.
Especially because all of my content is listen, there's people who love playing the battle royale singles. They like playing Showdown on DraftKings. Like I don't play that either. It's just I've put in once I've done the research for the week, I need to like decompress a little bit and just enjoy the golf for a little bit. I was having some problems sleeping. When anyone has little kids, that's probably going to be the case. They'll come up, wake you up in the middle of the night for no real apparent reason. So you're waking up, you're going back to sleep, you're waking up, going back to sleep. It's not the best sleep. I put my Apple Watch on and tried to track my sleep tracker. It was not going well. A lot of that changed once I got a Helix mattress, however, because I was able to customize it to both what I want, what my wife wants, and now we are sleeping throughout the night. The little noises that would just normally wake you up when you're not sleeping well, no longer the case for me. No more back pain either, because I'm actually sleeping on a mattress that is perfect for what my back demands, which is a lot because I have a terrible back. The one that I had before my Helix mattress, I spent a lot of money on it. It was bad after like 2 years. It had like the divot in it from where I sleep. It was unflippable. It was a horrendous waste of money. Not only is the Helix mattress I have now way better, it was also significantly cheaper. And it just showed up to my door in a box. Very easy to get onto my bed frame and just start using right away. So you can have all your problems solved with a Helix mattress as well. So you can go to helixsleep.com/mayo for 20% off site-wide. That's helixsleep.com/mayo for 20% off site-wide. Be sure to enter my name at the checkout so they know that I sent you. helixsleep.com/mayo. I want you to think about 2 things. 1, what makes your father special? Number 2, what makes all fathers the same? The answer to number 2 is that they are impossible to buy Father's Day gifts for. Who knows what your dad needs? But I can tell you one thing that the vast majority, almost all of fathers enjoy: steak, barbecuing. It's perfect. When it comes to Father's Day, some things never change. A recent survey shows 75% of Americans agree there's no better way to spend Father's Day than grilling with the family. So, shop omahasteaks.com and give your dad the legendary Heartland quality he deserves. Plus, my listeners get an extra $35 off with promo code MAYO at checkout. Omaha Steaks has been America's original butcher since 1917, a family-owned company with over 100 years of expertise in the meat industry. They also carry mouth-watering burgers, chicken, pork, seafood, dessert, and easy-to-prepare comfort food. This Father's Day, give Dad the world's best steak experience with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for a guaranteed perfect gifts that deliver legendary quality. For an extra $35 off, use promo code MAYO at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with promo code MAYO at checkout. See site for details. Oh, what pick do we have here? We're finally up.
Oh, let's go.
Pick 10 is what we are
okay.
at.
I kind of like pick 10 for the Eliminator. I'm not going to lie. I like this range of picks here. So
we're in the Genty, Puka, Amon-Ra neighbors territory.
Yeah, and even don't discount the big dog Derrick Henry there. We got him as an option as well.
So how do I blow this out?
Yeah. So hit the grid right there, and then top right, not the X, but that pop out button. So that we don't see that right now, but if you want to copy that link, or there you go, perfect. Yeah. I think that this works pretty well.
Jared, does that? I think that works a lot better. If we just put that up. We could probably even move our ourselves to the bottom of the screen here, so we can see the teams up at the top, and then we can see the fill for everything going in and see what teams are which. Here's us. We're the yellow team.
Well, yeah, it's highlighted nice for us. That way we don't lose track of us on our draft board. A lot of red badges in here, so this is a lot of experienced drafters.
I
in
have
here
a
for the
red
most part.
badge.
Well, you're a whale, brother. You were out here telling me strategy, and you're like, oh, I don't know how to play these games. And then you're hitting me with GTO right off the top. I mean, don't sell yourself short.
It doesn't mean I've played these. It's not like I'm an experienced player. I've never done one of these drafts before.
It's not necessarily for the Eliminator. It's just for all of Underdog. And honestly, you can earn a red badge by playing pick'ems too. So maybe you've just been really punting off there.
That's me. I churn a lot of money over. I think I'm in already this year for like 70K.
Oh, let's go. That's what I'm talking about. That's great.
Yeah, I'm right around break even. I feel very good about that.
You should. That's something to be proud of, to be honest.
It's weirdly golf season kills me for pick'em.
You just knowing too much ball can actually be a deterrent.
Yeah, like NFL season was fantastic. WNBA season has been awesome.
That's great.
Oh, picks are flying off the board here. So it went Barkley, Chase, Bijan, Gibbs, Jefferson, Lamb, Genty. So I guess McCaffrey will have to be the next pick.
I would assume so. This is an example of like what I'm talking about, where running backs go early. In regular best ball, you're seeing right now Jefferson and Lamb usually go 3-4. Here they're going 5-6.
All right, so we might get McCaffrey. I mean, McCaffrey, if I said I'd take him at 1, then obviously if we're going to take him at 10, that would be fantastic. But if it's not McCaffrey, what do you like here? Because it'd be Puka, Neighbors, Henry, and then I feel like there is a drop off to Collins and McCaffrey went. So do you, if you want to go running back heavy for us, it's what, Henry or A-Chain?
Yeah, and I would prefer Derrick Henry here.
You would?
I would.
Over Neighbors and Puka?
Yeah, I think Derrick Henry is a tier gap from that next group of running backs. I love Achane. I do worry that there's some systematic risk in Miami with the way Tyreek Hill is going about his offseason and what we saw last year. But I do love Achane, and honestly, if Achane came back to us, I wouldn't necessarily say no.
Yeah, and then we don't really have to worry about running back for a while, would we?
Not for a while. No, but we do want to try to, I personally in this contest, so you can use 3 running backs in your lineup, right? Cause you have a flex. I do like having that flex spot be with a running back, but we also need to be cognizant of the wide receiver landscape on Underdog. And we don't want to get too far behind that 8 ball either.
Cause it feels to me like A-Chain, Jonathan Taylor, yeah, A-Chain just went. So it'd be Jonathan Taylor is probably the last of what I would consider the not necessarily even elite, but that tier of back. I think when you get into Jacobs, Irving, and Chase Brown, you're on a tier down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm honestly probably a wide receiver here.
Okay, Brian Thomas, Drake London, Ladd, AJ Brown, T. Higgins, Garrett Wilson.
I like Drake London.
Oh God, really?
I know you're not on the Falcons.
Like no one should ever be on the Falcons because they're fucking terrible.
Pat, we like Michael Penix. We believe in Michael Penix. He throws left-handed. It looks beautiful.
That's great. It would just be, listen, he won't look as awkward as Tua, but you give him that mirror video and then maybe he'll look like a real quarterback. But I just feel like that's Drake London's good and he put up great numbers last year. But I just worry that every year people talk them into the Falcons, and every year they're like 8-8, and they just frustrate people to no end.
They do. They really do.
And what's different? What is different this year from the end of last year?
It's just Michael Penix Jr.
Michael Penix played the final 4 games?
He did. He had a really nice game against Carolina, which is like what you want to see.
Sure.
And what I like about Drake London, man, Drake London had 158 targets last year. Like, we're playing the Eliminator. We want that high floor. Drake London is going to give you one of the highest floors from the wide receiver position week after week. I'm trusting the process. I'm going to get my Fell For It Again award right here, pin it right on my chest, because I can't help it. I love falling for the Falcons. But you're absolutely right in that synopsis. They suck every year. This time, it might work for us.
But yeah, But it'll work for us. So Penix has to be a target for us now, especially if we play this week 1 strategy that I talked about. Atlanta was one of those teams. They and Tampa Bay play each other in Atlanta indoors in what projects to be a very high scoring game. I saw Brock Bowers went off the board. He went pick number, where are we at here with Brock
17,
Bowers?
it looks like.
Yeah, pick number 17. Is that general spot for him?
He goes later in the Eliminator than regular best ball because in the Eliminator, in my opinion, you don't necessarily need to dedicate as much draft capital to the tight end position. It's the least scoring position in the NFL and for best ball for our game. So I definitely enjoy punting the tight end position. If we had Bowers at pick 17, I'd probably have to think about it.
Rashee Rice going pretty high too. So there's no concern that he's not going to be as good coming off of injury, or that they might not just randomly suspend him for being a crazy person.
I totally agree with that risk assessment. I was a little shocked by it too, but what I heard is it was not an ACL. I thought for sure it was an ACL. I was going off that assumption for a while. Apparently it wasn't, and he's already like practicing, so that's good. And also we had some, Twitter lawyers telling us that, oh yeah, Rashee Rice's case is not going to be tried until 2026. So the NFL is not going to preemptively suspend him. So apparently there's no suspension risk. He's totally healthy.
Why is there no suspension risk with that? The NFL can do whatever they want.
Pat, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I'm not necessarily taking Rashee Rice where he's going here.
If this was like last year and he was going in the 7th and 8th round, completely get it. Now you need him to be Rashee Rice every single week at this ADP, and the guy's an absolute shithead. Who says that he's going to do something else stupid?
I do not disagree. Plus, Xavier Worthy is a year 2 wide receiver. He could eat into his targets way more than what we saw. And like we saw great things from Rashee Rice last year, but we have new information.
We're up in 2 picks here. So
yes.
You got the quarterbacks. You got like Lamar and Jaden Daniels. They're out here. I'm not touching James Cook with a 10-foot pole at this pick, knowing that I think there's a non-zero chance that he's just not playing at the beginning of the season. But you got
that'd
Breece
be a bold holdout.
Yeah, a holdout. I mean, that's not good for need to advance past week 1. Breece Hall, Mixon, and Chuba are right here, and so is Stomp the Yard of Marion. Where would you like to go with this pick? Because the receivers are like McLaurin, Marvin Harrison.
I do like Breece Hall here. Are you able to easily switch back to the queue where you can see the list of players?
Yeah,
or is
I'm on
that
it right
asking
now.
Too much? Okay.
So we got Breece Hall, James Cook, Joe Mixon.
I would prefer Breece Hall
over Mixon and Hubbard.
I do like Hubbard too. But I think Breece, man. I think Breece is going to rise.
All right, let's do it. We're in on Breece.
Yeah, those are good names. Those are good names that you named. But I think Breece Hall will rise. We were taking Breece Hall pick 6 overall last year, and now we're heavily discounting him, and he has Aaron Rodgers out of his hair now, so that's great.
And I think most importantly, another year removed from a catastrophic knee injury.
100%. I still believe in Breece Hall. Justin Fields, you can argue, is not necessarily an upgrade compared to Aaron Rodgers, but
it might be an upgrade. They've upgraded the offensive line, and his style might be an upgrade for the running game. Like running quarterbacks are good for running backs and opening up running lanes, especially big play guys like Breece Hall. I don't think that the dump offs and receiving game will be there as much for him, though.
Yeah, he could. I just think he's got more design work. It's really just like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson there.
We're back up.
Okay, what kind of wide receivers and running backs do we have?
James Cook, Mixon, Chuba Hubbard, and Omarion are the next receivers. Then we got Mike Evans, DJ Moore, Worthy, Cortland Sutton, Devonta Smith, Travis Hunter, Jamison Williams. This is the level that we're at.
Mike Evans feels like a good eliminator pick.
You say Mike Evans?
Yes.
Yeah. Keep your hamstrings not tight, pal. We'll be good.
Yeah. I like Evans a lot.
So do we start thinking about quarterbacks at some point soon? So the quarterback's still on the board. We probably don't, because Hurts and Burrow and Mahomes are still available in this draft. And then it goes into Baker, Kyler, Fields, Bo Nix, Brock Purdy. I think Penix, because we have Drake London, makes a lot of sense for our team, even if I don't love him as much.
Yeah.
And he's going like not drafted, basically. Pick 140.
Pick 140. Yeah, he is QB 21 in the contest. So, I mean, that's another reason why I like Drake London. Like, nobody really takes Penix if they don't have Drake London. You do kind of have to look out for the Darnell Mooney drafter. But for the most part, we kind of have squatters' rights on Michael Penix. But we do, I'm glad that you brought up quarterbacks because we do want to be cognizant of it because once they start going, they go fast. And, before you know it, you're looking at, wow, Sam Darnold or Tyler Shuck in the 15th round. What do we want?
Yeah, let's not do that. I would be happy. I think in this sort of format, I don't want to say drafting 3 quarterbacks would be a great idea, but they're going to give you the highest floor baseline every single week.
I am pro 3 quarterbacks.
All right, so let's think about some quarterbacks. We want to get Penix. We'll go around early on him just to get him. I've put Penix, Pitts, and Mooney in the queue just to monitor to see where they're going.
We call that the star method. That was trademarked by one Davis Maddock, who you're familiar with.
Well, he may have given me bad advice. I don't know if we want to credit him too much.
The star method hurts people way more than it helps them because they end up timing out and then picking a stack partner 100 picks ahead of ADP. But it will work for us, Pat.
We're here in 10 picks. So tight end is looking like Kittle, Laporta, Hawkinson, Jonnu, Kelsey, Ingram, Andrews. Feels like we can wait there.
I think we can. If Kittle managed to fall back to us, I would probably have to bite. But otherwise, I am probably pro waiting till pick 100, which would be around 8 or 9 before I would feel comfortable taking that first tight end. I just don't think it's worth taking that high draft capital because we don't necessarily care about spiking in week 17, which is honestly, the tight end thesis for best ball is we just want that really high score that separates in week 17. We don't care. We just want to beat one person, through weeks 1 through 16.
We also have to start being cognizant about week 9. Breece Hall and Mike Evans, both week 9 buys.
Good shout there. I will definitely, I got my list up right here of my own player pool. And I think it's a good idea. Try to avoid that.
So Kittle is gone. We're up in 5 picks. Quarterbacks who remain: Burrow, Mahomes, Baker, Kyler, Fields. If Burrow makes it to us, do we just take him knowing that we don't have Higgins or Chase, but he's good?
You could do that in the Eliminator. I think in the Eliminator that makes better sense.
I'm only bringing this up because of this style of contest. He's easily the highest scoring quarterback that I would project of this bunch. I really think he's going to outscore Patrick Mahomes by a lot if he stays healthy.
I don't disagree. I would probably vote against it for the Eliminator just because he doesn't run. I know he's going to throw a lot, but I do worry about a bad game and not having him stacked up. It just goes against most of my principles.
But we're also going to take 2 more quarterbacks.
We are. You're talking me into this naked Joe Burrow, which is kind of like a no-no. It's very taboo in our games.
Listen, I'm not in these streets full time. So people can laugh at me all they want. It's not going to hurt Pat Mayo's feelings.
I think it can work in the Eliminator. I think you just talked me into liking Joe Burrow, knowing that we are going to take.
We're on the clock. So let me give you these running backs to see if this is a tier into itself. RJ Harvey, Montgomery, Henderson, Pollard, Aaron Jones, Judkins, DeAndre Swift. Do you like any of those guys?
I do like Montgomery.
Okay, should we take Montgomery here then to fill out 3 running backs?
I would feel better about Montgomery.
Done. I don't want you to be on a show where I'm just taking Joe Burrow by himself and I'm like, oh, they've been talking up Jermaine Burton that he's not an absolute crazy person anymore. We can just take him later.
Yeah. We're not stacking up Jermaine Burton. Maybe Gesicki. If we get Joe Burrow back to us, Pat, I might have to let you indulge in this.
Well, it's one pick away, and he's still on the board.
Let's do it. Let's ruffle some feathers.
Let's go, Joe Burrow. Welcome to the squad.
We are pioneering the naked Joe Burrow in the Eliminator strategy. This is going to be the talk of the town.
Well, the whole key to this would be that in any week that we get matched up past week 1 with a team that has Joe Burrow on it, that Joe Burrow sucks, and then they probably have him stacked up with whoever, and we automatically win.
Automatically. It's an automatic win. We advance right off the jump.
Yeah, their 3 best players all suck. Only one of our players sucks. Or you just get into the circumstance where you're not playing Joe Burrow, and then if Joe Burrow goes off, you're going to be fine either way.
Yeah. Honestly, for the Eliminator, Pat, I think you sold me on naked Joe Burrow being not only fine, but maybe kind of good.
Listen, this is something Davis won't tell you, but drafting good players may be a decent strategy.
Too many Davis trades. He's gonna be mad at us.
I think I'm going on the Take Cast next week. I'll tell him all this stuff.
Oh,
So,
perfect.
to plan it out, we're 13 picks away. Here's the crop of receivers who remain:
Okay.
Judy, Addison, Debo, Jacoby Myers is still going a lot higher than I would have thought. Chris Godwin, Toozy, Steph Diggs, Ricky Bullets is there, Shakir, Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, Ayuk. So a lot of the San Francisco guys. Did you see the Steph Diggs stuff?
I did. He's living his best life, Pat.
People said that it was Molly. I can tell you that's not Molly.
No, I don't do that stuff. So I don't know what it was, but
I
you know
don't
what?
do that stuff either. I happen to know a lot of people who do, however.
Sure. That, and nothing wrong with that. Good for them. Have their fun. Be safe. I think it's safe to say he wasn't doing it. I think he was just being a gentleman.
Sure. Either way, I don't really care. But we only have Drake London and Mike Evans at receiver right now.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Today, I follow Steph Diggs on Instagram. He posted like 10 slides on a story of him like practicing and putting in work and working out. I think almost 100% as co-intel to what was out there of him on the boat.
Awesome.
That's my wide receiver.
I'm also, unless you just get naked Drake May, I have no interest in any of these Patriots.
Yeah, I don't think I'm falling for the Patriots stuff. I didn't really fall for it last year.
Good. Smart move.
Yeah, I do think Drake May is good, but like, is this the year?
I think Drake May, regardless of whether he's good or not, will be a good fantasy player.
Right, because
he's sort of like better Justin Fields.
Yeah, like way better. But yeah, no, because Drake May is nice, but yeah, is Steph Diggs and are you familiar with Kyle Williams?
I'm familiar that everyone's just like, oh my God, this guy, he's going to be amazing. It's like, is he? Like not every rookie's going to be good. Spoiler alert.
People just don't hear you when you say that, man. It's very funny. Nobody
could have made a lot of money over the years just simply by fading every rookie.
Yeah, and this is a great contest to fade the rookies. I mean, we're not necessarily concerned about the late season necessarily as much as we are just getting there. Period.
Okay, 4 picks away. Caleb Johnson, Brian Robinson, Jalen Warden, Jordan Mason, Najee Harris, Tyrone Tracy. Best available right now. I'm gonna continue to call Sam Scatman Gatto for like the rest of eternity, but I'm just
as you should.
Sod on that either. So you got like Charbonnet, Javonte. Any of these names stick out to you?
I think we should go wide receiver.
Okay, so wide receivers left now. Godwin, we're on the clock. Reed, Matthew Golden, Ayuk. Do we just take Darnell Mooney and just do the plunge?
What pick is Darnell Mooney? He's pretty far down the board, is he not?
He's the 5th guy on this list now.
You know what? Let's take Mooney, and we'll take another wide receiver as well.
Okay, so start thinking about the receivers.
It won't be a Green Bay since that's another Week 5 bye. I think we can say that with certainty. Godwin goes. Let's see here. Diggs went. Reed went.
We're not taking Diggs anyway, so not too worried about that.
But yeah,
Josh Downs, Michael Pittman.
I do like Downs a lot for this format. Just because
you want to get a touch of the Downs on the go.
I would love that. Just a graze.
See, Cooper Kupp is here. I got zero interest in that.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I do kind of see the bull case where like, what if Kupp was hurt and now he's not?
What if he's just old? So we're on the clock. Is it Downs?
Downs, or you said Shakir is still here?
No, Shakir's gone now.
Is he? Oh yeah, he went way before. Yeah, I like Josh Downs a lot here.
Josh Downs, welcome to the team. So to take a look at our construction right now, you got Burrow at quarterback, Henry, Breece Hall, and David Montgomery, Drake London, Mike Evans, Darnell Mooney, and Josh Downs. It does feel like our running backs are better than our receivers, and we still do not have a tight end. In terms of tight ends that are left on the board, Jonnu, Kelsey, Ingram, Andrews, Njoku, Colston Loveland is still there as well, along with Tyler Warren. So I think we're still doing okay here. This does put us into an interesting scenario that if we do get Tyler Warren, maybe we could take Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, how do you feel about Anthony Richardson in the Eliminator? Because I think there's a lot of risk for job security.
It is, but we have Burrow.
We do have Burrow, and we're going to have Michael Penix. So I'm glad you said that, because I'm on a bit of an island in the content streets where I think Anthony Richardson at his current ADP makes a lot of sense. If you get that right, you are just getting such an undervalued player if you get that right. And I don't think the risk is like, it seems pretty low risk
And well,
at his current ADP.
he's the perfect type of quarterback for us to take if we're committed to taking the 3 quarterbacks. We may never use them. But
Mhm.
the weeks that let's just say he starts all 17 games, we're going to end up using Richardson 5 times at least, just knowing that
At
he'll be a
least.
top 3 scoring quarterback of the slate.
Yeah, I think it's okay to take a little bit of risk, and I think that risk makes sense, like you said, considering we are, targeting Michael Penix pretty aggressively. So I'm glad that you said that, and I would really like Tyler Warren because I think Tyler Warren is getting way too harsh of a bad rap because he ended up in a situation people didn't like, and he wasn't tight end 1 off the board. I think Tyler Warren will be used a lot in Indy, and I'm excited about him.
Okay, so we got Tyler Warren in the queue, Anthony Richardson. We still have Penix and Pitts in the queue. Obviously, we need 2 tight ends. I just want to make sure that these guys line up. The Indy bye is week 11, so that's
Yes.
fine for us.
Yeah, it's a pretty unique buy. There's not a whole lot of teams on week 11. It's Indy and New Orleans, and I think that's it.
Yeah, and it's funny because I talked about not necessarily stacking everyone up, and here we are. But I think that now with these cheaper pieces is the way to do it.
Exactly. We're not stacking at a premium.
The Travelers Championship, the Northeast one and only PGA Tour signature event. Can it surpass the excitement of last year's thrilling finale when Scottie Scheffler broke away from the loaded leaderboard with 3 straight birdies in the back 9 during the final round, leading to a dramatic 1-hole playoff with Tom Kim winning him his 6th PGA Tour victory of the year? Will Scottie repeat as champion? Come watch as the world's best PGA Tour players try to dethrone him. All of them competing all 4 days at TPC River Highlands. The action begins June 19th and runs through June 22nd. For tickets and information, visit TravelersChampionship.com to see the greats, including Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, Ludwig Oberg, and the rest. The Travelers Championship. There is only one. I just want to throw some running backs in the queue in case we don't
Good call.
Get there. Is there anyone that you continue to draft at this point? We're into round 9 right now. We're up in 8 picks. Like you got your ETN, Charbonnets, Tajee Spears, Jaden Blues, Rashad Whites, Ray Davis might actually be the play here if James Cook might hold out.
Ray Davis is fun. I think Ray Davis is just a good running back in general. Could probably get some more work. Just even if James Cook does come back, it's kind of gross, but I think Travis Etienne has multiple outs in Jacksonville where he might be the running back 1 over Bashaw Tutin. That is not out of the question. Travis Etienne has a lot of draft capital, a former, was a really good running back. We didn't see that last year. Or he gets traded and he goes to a spot where he actually is getting a lot of work. It kind of leaves ambiguity at the bye weeks if he does get traded, though.
That it does. And then we're up in 1 pick here. So we have I also put Garendo in our queue because I think our running backs are strong. So taking Davis and Garendo, knowing that we might only have to use 2 running backs, it'd be great if one of them got into the flex and scored some touchdowns. But I feel like we're covered from that basis.
Are you able to scroll down just a little bit in the draft board? Sorry, just so I can see.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I will do that. Do that for you because we're up in 1. We're up in 1 pick here.
Here we go. Okay, we are on the clock.
Yes.
So running backs you mentioned that are available
are Javonte, Charbonnet, ETN, Ramondre, King Tootin.
Man, maybe just go Charbonnet.
Okay, I can do that.
I think Charbonnet has a lot of outs as well this season.
Well, if Ken Walker gets hurt, then we saw what he could do a year ago, just piling up. Well, it all depends on their quarterback situation as well. Geno wasn't really a check down king outside of a few games where that was their only move, apparently. But maybe Darnold or even Milroe might be the way to go about that. So we're going to get into round 10 here. None of our guys that we have in the queue ADP wise are there yet. But I think that we should start considering some of those. That'd be Penix, Pitts, Richardson, Warren, Ray Davis, Garendo. Who are some players in this range that you like to take now? Because we still have a Hollywood Brown. Jaden Higgins is on the board. Luther Burden. Rashad Bateman is still there, who's not bad.
Yeah, Bateman. I would like Bateman. I think Bateman showed, a really strong step forward last year that we were waiting for. They didn't add at the wide receiver. Well, they did add DeAndre Hopkins, but like I'm not necessarily worried about DeAndre Hopkins taking away from Rashad Bateman. So I would be pro Bateman there. What can you name some other players real quick before we commit?
Yeah, we're 20 seconds left. You got Marvin Mims, Keon Coleman, Trey Harris, Hollywood Brown, Jack Beck, Kyle Williams. You're everyone's guy.
Yeah, I think I'm Bateman.
Yeah, let's get a piece. We got Derrick Henry already, and we got Bateman. We know how the Ravens love just posting 50 points on people.
They love it. They love it. I'm of the belief that Lamar Jackson was snubbed last year.
I'm not.
You were pro Josh Allen?
I was pro Josh Allen because I think, listen, they're clearly 1-2, but I do think that there's a world where Baltimore isn't necessarily as good, but is a playoff team without Lamar Jackson and some sort of replacement backup. There is no world where Buffalo is any good without Josh Allen.
You know what? That's totally fair. That's totally fair.
Like if you put it, who is their, like it was Trubisky. Who is their backup now? It's some like absolute goober.
Yeah, I don't even know. I haven't thought about the Bills backup in forever.
Yeah, but you know why? Because if you think
Trubisky.
about the Bills backup, then it's over.
Yeah. You don't practice EFT.
It actually is Mitch Trubisky again.
It is Mitch Trubisky.
It was Mike White last year, I think, after he got cut by the Dolphins.
Multi-talented guy, Mike White. He's a writer and a backup QB.
And he's going to be on season 50 of Survivor.
Is he? Wow.
He's going back to Survivor.
I heard mixed reviews about that cast. I'm not going to lie, but
yeah, I mean, I haven't watched Survivor since season 2, so I really can't comment on this. That was like 20
I took you for a Survivor
ago.
guy.
What's that?
I took you for a Survivor guy. That's
no, I'm a challenge guy. So I see all these like young Survivor people come over to the challenge.
Okay, that's fun.
So in 12 picks, we're going to be right around where some of our ADP guys are going to be going. So I think that we have to make a move now so we don't miss out.
Yeah.
Like, Penix is probably the pick because we kind of need him at this point.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely getting a little fearful of these quarterbacks running off the board. I would definitely reach for Penix there.
So we go Penix and Warren, or do we go Warren and Penix? Because there's still Andrews, Njoku, and Loveland ahead of Warren on the ADP tight end wise. Where we're at right now, 10 picks away, that could change.
I think Penix is more important to this team.
So
I would prioritize him. And if because if we took Warren and missed Penix, I think we would trade those two out in a heartbeat.
100%. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Good draft strategy right there.
Yeah, it just takes a little teamwork, and you can see these quarterbacks flying off the board. I'm honestly getting a little nervous.
We're okay. You got Herbert, you got Caleb coming off. Let's see who's ahead of us here. You still got Jordan Love, CJ Stroud. Is the Stroud, if you miss out on Collins and just stack up the rest of Stroud's options, is that a viable play?
I think so. I think they clearly made a dedicated effort to like, hey, we want Stroud surrounded with weapons. They drafted 2 wide receivers. They signed Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I still think Stroud's a good quarterback. I think it's very obvious to look at Stroud's weapons last year and think, oh yeah, like that's why he was bad. Like they had, after Nico went down and Diggs and Tank Dell, he was thrown to unfortunately, no disrespect to those guys, to nobody.
So, okay, we're getting pretty tight here. We got Jordan Love and 2 more tight ends coming off the boards. We might lose Warren here. I'm pretty confident that we'll get Penix.
Yeah, I'm okay with losing Warren because, like I said, I'm not necessarily sweating the tight end position. I just really like Tyler Warren.
Now the wait begins. The real Mike Bradley is taking all of his time in the draft. I don't know if he's also doing a stream too and trying to talk through his pick, but we'll see. No, how do you feel about Njoku now? So he took CJ Stroud.
Mm-hmm.
With just the way that everything sets up. Who was the other tight end that Cleveland drafted? I always forget his name.
Fannin.
Yeah, Fannin. So we're up. We'll get Penix right now because Thielen just went off the board. Welcome to the team, Michael Penix. Like that seems like they might just play 12, even split him out wide or put him in the slot or something. It feels like both those guys are going to be on the field.
In terms of Njoku, you were saying?
Yeah.
And Fannin? Yeah. I think Njoku is very talented. He showed us the last 2 seasons that he's very talented. And we're getting a discount because of the QB ambiguity. But, what if he's just so good that even if there's a bad quarterback out there, David Njoku can still eat at a discounted price?
Well, here's the thing. The quarterback play can't be worse. It's impossible.
Jameis Winston gave us some memorable moments.
I agree. Maybe that Jamie, and look, Njoku was awesome. with him. So Warren went. We lost Warren.
That's okay. That's
Ray
okay.
Davis?
Yes.
Done.
Perfect.
How many
And we
rounds
can-
are in these things?
18.
Oh
So
my God.
we're cruising. We're cruising. We can probably, call it a day at running back. We have a really solid 5 running back room. I would at this point be, focusing on trying to get wide
no
receivers as
Garendo?
projectable targets. If he came back, you could talk me into it, but I think we spent some pretty good capital at running back. Maybe this is just my traditional best ball brain coming into play, where if I spend too much draft capital at running backs, I start to wheeze. But I think we spent some good capital. We'll see if he comes back.
Yeah, here's some guys I'm adding to the queue at receiver. I like Josh Palmer this year in Buffalo.
Me too. I think any sort of competent wide receiver in Buffalo, it gets a pretty strong projection in my book.
Then after that, Alec Pierce is still here. We missed out on another tight end. We could put Alec Pierce in with Richardson and Josh Downs if that's the way that we wanted to go.
I'm a fan of that. I think Pierce and Richardson mesh really well because Richardson loves the deep ball, and that's kind of the only thing Alec Pierce does well is catch 40-yard bombs.
Yeah, that's it. If you like a underdog pick 'em play every single week, higher longest reception, Alec Pierce.
Every time, lock it in.
Who else do we have here? We're not for 11 picks, so we have to make some decisions here in advance. Jalen McMillan is still on the board. We already have Mike Evans. We do not have Baker Mayfield, so maybe that's not a spot where we want to keep adding to our buys of week 9. Is that something you would want to do without the quarterback, or is that a situation we should avoid?
I'm okay with it just because I think that the Bucs are going to throw a lot. They kind of just seem dedicated to just being a high-powered offense. So I think if McMillan came back to us, it would definitely be something that I would be okay with.
So 7 picks from now, we're venturing the territory where we might lose Anthony Richardson.
It is going to be a close call.
Yeah,
for sure.
He's 3 picks away. So what's an alternate strategy here?
I think Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold's kind of the only one left, isn't he?
Yeah, or Tyler Shuck if you think Shuck is going to play and do well. But I mean, what's the confidence interval on that take? I think, what if you just actually what if Sam Darnold wasn't just like a KOC merchant and a Vikings merchant? What if he's actually like not a bad quarterback and just needed to get out of New York? Like what if he's actually not that bad?
We got 5 picks to us, and Richardson's the top of the queue for quarterbacks right now looking at it. And so Algier comes off the board. I'd want to go Richardson and Pitts with these 2 picks.
Okay. Yeah, I would be down for that.
Yes, Pitts is 3rd on the tight end spot right now, and Richardson is 1st in the queue at quarterback. It's getting dicey. Out here. Hopefully Jay Riddell isn't smelling what we're up to.
I think Jay Riddell's like, I got Bo Nix and Dak Prescott. Like, what do I need? What do I need Anthony Richardson for? I need another running back.
Maybe he's thinking the same way that we are, unfortunately. Kyle Williams goes to Jay Riddell.
There you go. Kyle Williams' ADP is like 20 spots different in the Eliminator than Best Ball. Just kind of shows you the way people actually think about Kyle Williams.
I think that makes a ton of sense, actually.
Oh, it does. It does.
Garendo comes off the board.
I'm Mike Bradley's my buddy. I'm telling him like take Garendo so I don't have to take him with Pat.
You're cheating. You're doing a draft with me and cheating against me. Great.
boot me off.
All right. I think after these 2 picks, we'll call it a day. I'll go on autopilot and hopefully we'll get some guys.
You can set positional limits. You can actually auto draft with pretty strong bumpers.
Let's see. Oh, we're gonna get Richardson.
Perfect.
Good for us.
I like that a lot.
Pierce to the top of the queue here. Probably not going to make it back to us. Are there like final round guys that you just like? Because I'll just add them to my queue and go on autopilot.
Yeah. Let me go down here. I mean, I think J.K. Dobbins will sign somewhere and be a viable play. I know we have a lot of running backs, but I do enjoy him. Darius Slayton, I think, is a pretty strong eliminator play who I think is going to get more targets than people expect. People really like Tutu Atwell.
I do too, actually.
$10 million for Mr. Tutu.
Before Devontae signed, in fairness.
Sure.
So Kyle Pitts goes to us. We've just basically, as much as I hate Atlanta, I'm now overcommitted to Atlanta in this draft. Great.
Yeah, I would put 2 tight ends in your queue as well here, Pat, because we only have 1 tight end right now. So,
Who's in Jacksonville besides Brenton Strange?
see, I think they did draft somebody, but like I'm not Johnny Munt, Hunter Long. I like Juwan Johnson. He's just always undervalued by underdog drafters, and he runs a lot of routes for New Orleans. He is the tight end 1 right now. I don't think we're going to see any Taysom Hill this season with the injury that he suffered. So, you could throw in Juwan Johnson there. I also like that kid, JT Sanders in Carolina. There's,
Jatavion?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to put Gesicki at the top of our queue simply for Burrow purposes.
Fair.
So I'll go Gesicki, Brenton Strange. So how do I set this up? That would like to go on autopilot to make sure I have limits.
So you have to go to your rankings tab.
Oh God.
I know. Bear with me here.
All right.
Let me know when you're there. And then we need to make sure that we are setting rankings for the NFL 2025 Eliminator. You can see that on the bottom left when you're in your rankings tab.
All right. Bottom left.
It should be the second one.
All right. MLB. Where's NFL?
Okay. So yeah, go to sport. NFL's third from the bottom. And then you choose Eliminator season.
Eliminator.
Yep.
Okay.
And then on the right, we're going to go to limits.
Limits.
So set 3 for quarterback. And let's say 5 running backs. You're good with these 5 running backs that we have?
Yeah, I'm good with these 5 running backs and a maximum of 2 tight ends.
Let's do 3 tight ends.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so that's 8, 11, and then do 7 wide receivers. Or 8 wide receivers if we want to do 2 tight ends. Yeah, perfect. And then we can just kind of like let randomness decide if we get 3 tight ends or 2 tight ends or 7 or 8 wide receivers.
By 10, by 8. I just want to make sure that I have no tight ends with similar bye weeks. Just in case that comes up. All right. I think that will do it for us. Nez, tell everyone once again where they can find you.
Yeah, at YouTube on the Badge Bros, we are streaming Underdog content Monday through Friday. Pick'ems, Battle Royales, Best Ball, everything Underdog related. You can watch us and hopefully do better on Underdog by listening to us. And I'm on Twitter, aka X, at Nez Takes. I am always tweeting about sports, random stuff. I think I'm a good follow. So yeah, if you want to check me out on there, you can follow me there. Pat, once again, man, thanks a lot for having me on. This is always a blast.
Thanks for always taking the time to come on and explain this stuff to me. I'm going to be doing more best ball drafts for the different formats, trying to get some sense of where the strategy lies, me giving out my terrible takes, and hopefully maybe try to win some money on this. And you can get some cash, bonus cash, in your account at Underdog right now by using code Mayo up to $1,000 plus a free pick in the Pick'em game. Share this around, smash a like, sub to the channel while you're here, and don't forget about the audio podcast on Apple and Spotify. All right? I'll see you next time.
That Mayo experience! Experience!